Hello, Happy New Year and welcome along to the match as Real Madrid kick off 2014 with a home game against Celta Vigo at the Santiago Bernabeu on Monday evening. Sid Lowe is with me as ever to preview the game. Sid, Happy New Year.
And to you.
Now, January is such an important month in the context of the season as a whole, so it's vital Real Madrid get off to a winning start.
It's a very curious month, and it's a curious month because the entire Copa del Rey virtually is squished into 5 weeks, basically the 4 weeks of January and the 1st of February. And what that means is it puts different kinds of pressure on the league campaign. And of course, because of the nature of the Spanish league, Madrid know that any drop points are really, really bad news. So it puts pressure on that. And it also may change the physical condition they're in when they come out of it to February for the Champions League. So it becomes a vital month because of a competition which is probably the least vital of the three. So it provides this kind of strange thing where you almost think, would it be better almost not to be in the Copa del Rey?
Don't think like that.
No, that's the whole thing. You can't think like that because, of course, we're talking about a big club who has to aspire to win everything.
Correct. Is a home game against Celta Vigo maybe the best way of kicking off 2014? It's an eminently winnable tie.
I think the answer to that question would be, is a home game the best way to kick off? Yes. The fact that it's Celta Vigo, I think, is relatively unimportant. Admittedly, it's better than it being Athletic Bilbao or Barcelona or Real Sociedad or Sevilla or someone who would be more likely to come and cause real problems for Real Madrid. Celta are quite a good side. They're a very curious team as well when you watch them. They're quite difficult to work out because at times you think, wow, this is a really nice team. They play really nice football, really good to watch, score quite a lot of goals, but the results haven't really worked for them yet. So is it a good start for Madrid? I think the fact that they're at home means that, yes, it is.
Well, they were so strong at home in 2013 as well. 26 victories. It remains a fortress, the Santiago Bernabeu.
Of course it does. I mean,
it's an obvious thing to say. But...
Yeah, of course it does. And of course, Madrid, I think the sheer number of quality players that Real Madrid have got completely eclipses virtually everybody in the Spanish league, at home as well. The kind of form that Cristiano Ronaldo has been on for pretty much the whole of 2013, although actually I think you can extend that more or less 3 or 4 years now. I think his form's actually been remarkably consistent. I think the fact that Gareth Bale, while still finding his feet, has scored a lot of goals, provided a lot of assists, that Karim Benzema seemed to find his role now between those two players, that when he has been called upon, Angel Di Maria has played really well. And I think largely these are all positive signs for Real Madrid. A little bit of vulnerability at the back still, and I think that's something that Ancelotti will be looking at very, very carefully over the next month.
Let's take a look at who Sid thinks is going to start then for Real Madrid against Celta Vigo in the first match of 2014 at the Santiago Bernabeu, a 7 p.m. kickoff on Monday night. And if you can just talk us through your starting lineup, Sid, because it is pretty much the 11 that we've come to expect.
In the absence of Rafa Varane, and with the fact that neither Pepe nor Ramos is suspended or injured, because we've had them miss a couple of games recently through suspension and injury, then Pepe Ramos is the centre-back partnership for sure. A slight doubt, of course, at right-back, Arbeloa or Carvajal. We've had doubts throughout the season, Marcelo or Coentrao, although Coentrao coming back from an injury, I think it will continue to be Marcelo. Xabi Alonso, absolutely vital in terms of giving the balance in the midfield. Probably partnered by Modric, but it wouldn't be a huge surprise if it was Mendy. And then Isco in front of them. And the absence of Sami Khedira has encouraged Ancelotti and Clement and Zidane to look for a slightly different formation, which has been very good news for Isco, because in a 4-3-3 he doesn't have a natural place. In a 4-2-3-1 he most definitely does. Up front, Bale, Benzema, Ronaldo. The only doubt, I suppose, is Bale, because he didn't go to Doha with that small calf injury problem, which has perhaps gone on a little bit longer than we expected, but I think he'll probably be fit, and he has that slight advantage as well of Madrid playing on Monday. So if it had been Saturday, maybe harder to reach it, but he's got 2 extra days.
You haven't put Jesse Rodriguez in your starting 11?
No, and he of course was the player that most stood out in Doha, scoring the goal against Paris Saint-Germain in that friendly. He also scored the goal that gave Real Madrid an absolutely massive victory in Valencia just before Christmas, and he's a player who I really like the look of. I think he's got enough mobility that he could play in Bale's position, or he could play in Benzema's position as the central of the 3 players up front. But of course it's Bale, Benzema and Cristiano Ronaldo who are the 3 guys ahead of him. So however good he is, and by the way, I think he's going to be really very, very special indeed. He has 3, he has 250 million euros worth of players in front of him, so it's very difficult for him to get in the side.
Let's have a quick word then about Celta Vigo, because they've had a slightly strange season so far. They've won 4 of the 17 matches. 3 of those victories have come away from home, bringing you pictures from their training session earlier this week on a typical Galician winter's day.
Yeah, that is typical Galicia as well. Thick fog, very, very wet. No one can see anyone else. And yet, curiously, where they're happiest, and I do love this statistic, I was going through this, they've won only 4 times all season, 3 of them away. They've only won in Andalusia, and they haven't yet lost in Andalusia either. So they went to Betis, and they won there. They won 1-0 at Sevilla, and they won 5-0 in Malaga. And yet everywhere else they've been beaten.
Yeah,
there's no draws.
No draws. They've been poor at home as well.
They have been poor at home, and it's quite difficult to work out why, really. I mean, partly because I think they're a side that's naturally a little bit better on the break because of the speed, particularly on the top left and right, and they break really, really well. But I actually think when you watch them play, they're not a bad side at all. They create a lot of chances. They score a reasonable amount of goals. Only 2 teams in the bottom half of the table have got as many as them. But there's a very significant touch of vulnerability about them, and I think they concede goals a little too easily.
OK, well, let's take a look at the other matches in Spain this weekend, on the first weekend of 2014, and get Sid's all-important predictions. Here's who Sid thinks is going to win, lose or draw. Malaga against Atletico Madrid.
It's a potentially difficult game, this one, for Atletico Madrid, but I'm going to go for Atletico anyway.
OK, Valladolid against Betis.
Betis.
It's the Valencia derby at Mestalla, Valencia Levante.
Valencia under new management as well.
Almeria hosting Granada.
Said with doubts, but Granada.
Sevilla against Getafe.
Sevilla.
Barcelona hosting Elche in their first game of the year.
Barcelona.
Osasuna against Espanyol.
It's impossible to ever predict an Espanyol game, isn't it? It's very bizarre. Osasuna.
The Basque derby at Anoeta, La Real against Athletic Bilbao.
Really looking forward to that. I'm going for La Real in that one.
Real Madrid against Celta, the big one for us.
Real Madrid.
And just down the road in Vallecas, Rayo Vallecano against Villarreal.
Villarreal.
OK, that is who Sid thinks is going to win, lose or draw. Hasn't predicted any draws, actually, on the first weekend of the year. Right, that's all we've got time for on this edition of The Match. The match in question is Real Madrid against Celta Vigo at the Santiago Bernabeu on Monday. It's a 7 p.m. kickoff. From Sid and myself, it's adios.